The day has finally grown quiet. Not all at once, but in those slow little ways. Evenings, no lights dimming in other homes. A few cars humming in the distance. The air settling into a softer kind of stillness. You're here now, letting your body rest in whatever shape feels easiest, letting the edges of the day loosen just a little. Imagine an old wooden porch at the edge of a calm lake in late summer. The boards beneath you are cool from the night air, smooth from years of bare feet and quiet sitting. Out over the water, a faint silver glow hangs where the moon is rising, the surface of the lake barely moving, like it's listening with you. A long day can leave a certain weight behind, shoulders a bit tense, thoughts moving faster than you want them to. Maybe there were decisions at work that didn't feel clear, or family needs that stretched you thin. Maybe money worries tugged at the back of your mind, or a conversation replayed itself more times than you meant to let it. Whatever followed you here, it doesn't need to go any farther tonight. Let your inhale come a touch slower, and let your exhale fall away like a small tide returning to the lake, not forcing anything, just allowing your breath to find a softer pace. You might feel the way the day still hides in the body, tiny knots around the jaw, a slight clench in the belly, the sense that your chest has been holding itself up for hours. Here, on this quiet porch, you can let those tight places know that nothing is asked of them right now. Not solving, not planning, not pushing ahead, just settling, like a stone gently coming to rest on the shallow shore. A faint chorus of crickets hums somewhere beyond the trees, steady and unhurried. The lake carries a cool scent, a mix of water, pine, and a memory of warm afternoons. You feel the night lean in, not heavy, just close, as if it wants to wrap you in its simple, unhurried rhythm. Let your breathing follow that rhythm, a slow rise, and a longer, easier fall. Imagine the breath moving in and out like the lake's surface, barely shifting, but always guiding the body towards stillness. The mind may still flutter a bit. That's all right. Thoughts often keep their momentum long after the day is done. If anything tries to pull your attention back into the noise of work, or choices, or overthinking, picture those thoughts as small ripples fading across the water. You don't have to chase them. Just watch them widen, soften, disappear. The porch beneath you feels steady. You're not holding yourself up anymore. Something else is holding you. The boards, the night air, the quiet lake, they all make room for you without needing anything back. Let yourself lean into that. You may notice the back of your neck relaxing, the jaw releasing just a fraction, the belly softening as the breath grows deeper and easier. Tiny shifts, almost nothing at all, but each one opening a bit more space inside you. Space you didn't have to earn. Space that has always been here waiting. Let your shoulders drop with your next exhale. Feel the back of your heart widen just a little. Feel the ground beneath your hips or your spine holding you as if to say, you're allowed to rest now. The moonlight brushes the lake with a pale, gentle shimmer. Not bright, not dramatic, just a soft glow that makes the world look a little kinder. This is how night so often speaks, with quiet reassurance, with the sense that nothing needs fixing in this moment, that it's perfectly okay to simply be. Whatever carried itself through your day, questions, tasks, responsibilities, they can wait at the doorway of this night. You've stepped onto this porch for a reason, even if you didn't notice it at first. Some part of you knew it was time to lay the weight down for a while. You're doing that now, breath by breath, slowly, gently, without needing to hurry. Let the cool lake air move around you, brushing the skin like a soft hand smoothing a wrinkle. Let it remind you of evenings long ago when you could simply sit or lie back and feel the world quiet itself without you needing to direct anything. There's nothing to achieve here, nothing to perfect, only the night, the breath, and this growing ease settling through you like warm sand finding its level. If these nightly videos help you unwind, I'd love for you to subscribe so you can come back whenever you need a softer place to land. And if you feel up to it, you're welcome to leave a simple comment. 1. If this helped you rest tonight. 2, if it didn't. Now the lake is waiting, and so is the first story. Let's drift there together. Story 01. The Angry Brahmin. A warm dusk settled over the village as the Buddha walked quietly along a dusty path. A Brahmin hurried toward him, face tense, breath sharp, carrying the heat of a long day. He had been stewing in anger, upset by rumors, convinced that someone like the Buddha deserved a harsh scolding. When he reached him, the words burst out: frustration, blame, the familiar fire that comes from too many worries bundled into one evening. The Buddha simply stood there, calm as a still pond, letting the man's storm pass. Then he gently explained, using a simple analogy, that when someone offers a gift and the other person does not take it, the gift remains with the giver. The man's shoulders sank, his breath slowed. He realized the anger he'd been carrying was his own burden, not something forced upon him. You might feel that too, how someone's harsh words at work or at home can live in your chest longer than you want. But you don't have to accept everything handed to you. When you release something unhelpful, you keep your peace. Practice. Place a hand on your chest, breathe in gently, and on the exhale, imagine setting down something you don't need tonight. Story 02. Kisagutami and the Mustard Seed. Evening shadows stretched across the small town. When Kisagutami reached the Buddha, grief etched into every line of her face. Her child had died, and her world had collapsed inward. She pleaded for a cure. The Buddha listened with deep kindness and asked her to bring a mustard seed from a household that had never known death. She went door to door, and each family shared its own story of lost parents, spouses, children. By the time night deepened, her grief had changed shape. She returned quieter, breathing easier. Not because the loss was gone, but because she no longer felt alone in it. Maybe you've carried a pain that felt like it swallowed the world. Hearing that others struggle too doesn't erase ours, but it softens the isolation. Grief is heavy, but it becomes gentler when shared. Practice. Whisper to yourself, others know this feeling too. Let the truth lighten your heart, even a little. Story 03. The Bamboo Acrobat. One warm afternoon, the Buddha spoke about balance using an image well known to travelers, a bamboo acrobat, and his assistant standing atop a tall pole. If either performer paid more attention to the other than to themselves, both would fall. But when each cared for their own stability, both remained safe. The monks listening had been struggling with frustration, too many duties, too much comparison, trying to manage everyone's behavior but their own. The Buddha's analogy settled into them like a cool breeze. Maybe your own days feel like that, managing co-workers, family needs, endless messages. But steadiness begins inside you, not around you. When you care for your own balance, everyone around you benefits. Practice. For 1 minute, focus only on the breath at your nostrils. Let the rest of the world take care of itself. Story 04. The Quarrelsome Monks of Kosambi. The Buddha arrived at Kosambi during a tense season. 2 groups of monks were locked in argument, each certain they were right, each tired and stubborn. Their voices had grown sharp, their minds tangled. The Buddha tried to guide them toward understanding, but they clung tightly to pride. So he quietly left, choosing the stillness of the forest rather than standing in the middle of their fight. The monks eventually felt the emptiness of their own behavior, and their anger began to cool. Maybe you've been in those moments, family disagreements that drain you, workplace conflict that leaves a knot in your stomach. Not every battle needs your presence. Sometimes stepping away is the path that brings clarity. Practice. Think of one conflict you can loosen your grip on. Take a slow breath and give yourself permission not to fix it tonight. Story 05. The Sorrow of Patakara. Patakara came to the Buddha, broken by wave after wave of tragedy. Her husband, children, and family lost in quick succession. Her mind unraveling from grief too heavy to hold. The Buddha didn't push her away. He welcomed her, offered calm presence, and helped her see that sorrow is part of the human experience, shared across all households. As she listened, her breathing softened. The storm inside her gradually eased. You might recognize that too, how one hardship can make every small thing feel impossible. When life overwhelms you, gentle understanding can help you steady your feet again. You don't have to carry everything alone. Practice. Rest your palms on your lap. On each breath, imagine a little more room opening inside you. Story 06. The Buddha and the Sick Monk. One afternoon, the Buddha found a monk lying alone, weak and unwashed, abandoned by those who were supposed to care for him. Quietly, the Buddha helped clean him, speaking softly and encouraging the other monks to look after one another. He reminded them that tending to the vulnerable is part of the path. The sick monk felt lighter, not only from the care, but from the dignity restored. Maybe you've carried your own struggles silently, afraid to burden others, or maybe you've brushed past someone else's exhaustion because your day was too full. Kindness is not separate from wisdom. Practice. For 1 minute, place a hand on your heart and say softly, "May I be gentle today." Let it settle into you. Story 07. Prince Nanda and the Vision of Beauty. Nanda, troubled by desire and pulled in two directions, duty on one side, longing on the other, followed the Buddha reluctantly into the monastic life. Seeing his turmoil, the Buddha showed him a group of celestial beings whose beauty made his earthly attachment seem smaller and less consuming. It wasn't to shame him, but to widen his perspective. With that shift, Nanda found ease, realizing that clinging had kept his heart tight. You may have felt that too, caught between work demands, relationship needs, and personal desires. Sometimes the mind needs a broader view before it can rest. Letting go doesn't mean losing, it means seeing more clearly. Practice. Imagine your concerns placed on a wide open sky. Give them space to breathe. Story 08. The Buddha calms a family's fear during a storm. On a stormy night, a family frightened by thunder approached the Buddha. Their minds raced with old superstitions and fear of spirits. The Buddha sat with them, steady as a mountain in the rain, and spoke about natural causes, the wind, the clouds, the sky opening. No spirits, no curses, no unseen forces hunting them. Hearing this, their fear loosened. The storm outside remained loud, but the storm inside faded. Maybe you've had evenings when everything felt louder than it should. Emails, deadlines, bills, your own thoughts echoing. A clear explanation, spoken kindly, can calm the mind. Most fears shrink when understood. Practice. Close your eyes and listen for the quietest sound in the room. Let your attention rest there. Story 09. The Buddha and the Farmer with Too Many Demands. A weary farmer came to the Buddha, listing all his problems: crops failing, family arguing, neighbors unhelpful. He wanted a guarantee that his life would become smooth. The Buddha explained gently that no one escapes difficulties. Everyone carries a few unsolvable problems. The farmer frowned at first, then relaxed, realizing he wasn't being singled out by fate. You may feel the same: work pressure, family strain, money worries. Life rarely lines up perfectly, but it can be met with a softer heart. Peace doesn't come from removing every problem. It comes from meeting them calmly. Practice. Name one difficulty in your mind. Take a slow breath and allow it to exist without trying to solve it right now. Story 10. The Buddha and the Grieving Mother. Kisa Sundari. Another mother, Kisa Sundari, came to the Buddha after the death of a loved one. Her grief made her restless, walking from place to place, searching for some way to undo what had already happened. The Buddha sat with her and spoke of the way all things that arise eventually pass. He wasn't dismissing her pain, he was helping her understand the nature of life itself. Her breath grew steadier, her grief softened into acceptance, not erasing love but freeing her from the frantic search for escape. You may know that feeling, trying to fix something that simply hurts. But some wounds heal only when we stop running from them. Acceptance opens space for peace. Practice. On your next 3 exhales, whisper inwardly, It's okay to rest now. Let the words ease you towards stillness. Story 11. The Buddha and the Monk Tormented by Restlessness. A quiet evening breeze moved through the monastery grove as a young monk approached the Buddha. His mind had been racing for days. Too many thoughts, too many memories. His heart tight with restlessness. He admitted he couldn't meditate, couldn't sleep, couldn't calm the whirl inside him. The Buddha listened and spoke about how restlessness rises from an unsettled mind, just like a pond stirred by the wind cannot reflect anything clearly. Hearing this simple image, the monk felt something ease. The pressure he'd been putting on himself softened. Maybe you felt that too, lying awake with a mind that keeps churning through work tasks, bills, or conversations. The more we push it still, the louder it seems to grow. A restless mind softens when we stop fighting it. Practice. Sit comfortably and let your next 5 breaths be slow and spacious. Imagine each exhale smoothing the surface of a lake. Story 12. The Buddha advises Rahula on truthfulness. One warm afternoon, Rahula, still a young novice, sat near the Buddha with questions tugging at him. He had once spoken carelessly, and it weighed on him more than he admitted. The Buddha reminded him, using a simple image, that just as a reflection cannot form in muddy water, a mind clouded by untruth cannot find peace. Rahula listened deeply, his face softening with understanding. He felt steadier, like he had been given a clean slate. Maybe you've carried regret for something said too quickly at work, with family, during a stressful day. It sits in the chest like a small stone. Honesty clears the heart, so it can rest. Practice. Take one slow breath and think of a place in your life where you can speak just a little more gently tomorrow. Story 13. The Buddha meets Supper Buddha the leper. Supper Buddha, afflicted with illness and hardship, approached the Buddha one day as he taught on a hillside. Despite his suffering, he listened with his whole heart. The Buddha spoke about patience, generosity, and the quiet strength that can grow even in difficult circumstances. Supper Buddha felt a deep calm settle through him. His pain didn't vanish, but his mind loosened. He left with a steadier sense of dignity. Maybe you felt worn down by long, tiring seasons, work you can't step away from, worries you can't immediately fix. Hearing something true and kind can help you breathe again. Inner peace doesn't depend on perfect circumstances. Practice. Place both hands gently on your belly. Let each slow breath remind you of your own strength. Story 14. The Buddha and the grieving woman Nakulamata. Nakulamata and her husband were aging, their bodies slowing down, their children grown, their worries increasing. She came to the Buddha with fear of losing her husband, fear of being left alone. The Buddha spoke to her with gentleness, encouraging her to cultivate a mind free from clinging, reminding her that love deepens when it's not tangled with fear. She left calmer, holding her husband's hand with tenderness rather than desperation. Maybe your own worries about loved ones rise at night, health concerns, distance, unspoken tensions. Fear tightens the heart. Kindness softens it. Love grows clearer when we stop gripping it so tightly. Practice. Think of someone you care for. On your next exhale, silently offer them ease. Story 15. The Buddha teaches Sona about effort. Sona was a monk who pushed himself too hard, meditating day and night, exhausting his body, frustrated by slow progress. His heart was full of striving, the way many of us push through long work days and impossible lists. The Buddha reminded him of the lute he once played. When the strings were too tight, no music came. When too loose, the sound was dull. Balance brought harmony. Hearing this, Sona felt the tension inside him dissolve. He understood that calm effort is stronger than frantic effort. Maybe you've lived a day like that, trying too hard, overstretching, forgetting to breathe. The mind works best when we give it room. Balanced effort brings steady peace. Practice. Soften your shoulders. Take a slow inhale and whisper inwardly, a little less pressure. Story 16. The Buddha and King Pasenadi's late-night worries. One evening, King Pasenadi came to the Buddha heavy with concerns governing family challenges, the weight of constant responsibility. His mind was crowded and tired. The Buddha reminded him that even kings experience worry, and that caring for one's inner life is not a luxury, but a necessity. The king's breath deepened as the truth settled in. He felt lighter, even though his duties hadn't changed. Maybe you've ended your own day like this, with a long list of tasks you didn't finish and decisions you're still turning over. Responsibility can sit like a stone on the chest. Caring for your inner life helps you carry the outer one. Practice. Place a hand over your heart. Take 3 easy breaths, each one slower than the last. Story 17. The Buddha calms. A monk frightened in the forest. A young monk meditating in the deep forest became terrified at night. The sounds of animals, the darkness, the unknown pressing close. He returned to the Buddha trembling. The Buddha taught him to cultivate loving kindness, explaining that goodwill steadies the mind and quiets fear. The monk practiced and found that the same forest felt gentler, almost welcoming. Maybe darkness at night brings your own worries forward, future plans, small mistakes, the one line in an email you reread too many times. Fear grows in tight spaces. Kindness, even directed inward, widens the mind. Practice. Repeat slowly in your mind. May I be safe. May I be calm. Let the words soften your breath. Story 18. The Buddha and the monk with doubt. Another monk came to the Buddha weighed down by doubt, uncertain about the path, uncertain about himself. He felt tired from second-guessing everything. The Buddha reassured him that doubt is natural when the mind is unsettled, the way clouds cover the moon but never touch it. Hearing this, the monk felt the tightness in his chest ease. His faith grew not blindly, but gently. Maybe you question yourself too, your choices, your abilities, the direction your life is going. Doubt doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're thinking deeply. Clarity comes when we let doubt settle without fighting it. Practice. Breathe in slowly. On the exhale, imagine a cloud drifting away from a quiet moon. Story 19. The Buddha helps a monk overcome distraction. A monk confessed to the Buddha that his mind wandered constantly during meditation, during chores, even during conversations. It made him feel defeated. The Buddha guided him to focus on the breath, reminding him that steady attention grows slowly, like a tree gaining rings year by year. The monk felt encouraged rather than ashamed. Maybe your own mind jumps around work deadlines, family responsibilities, tomorrow's schedule. Distraction is part of being human. Attention strengthens through small, patient moments. Practice. For the next 5 breaths, rest your awareness on just the feeling of air leaving your nose. Story 20. The Buddha and the mischievous group of young men. A group of young men once came to the Buddha embarrassed. They had been out enjoying themselves and gotten into trouble, leaving them confused, restless, and uneasy. The Buddha listened without judgment and offered guidance on wholesome actions and the kind of friendships that support a peaceful life. The young men felt steadier, grateful for a path that didn't shame them but helped them grow. Maybe you've had moments you weren't proud of, impulsive choices made under stress or habit. Regret softens when met with understanding. Better choices begin with honest reflection, not self-punishment. Practice. Place one hand over your heart. Take a slow breath and say inwardly, I can start fresh tomorrow. Story 21. The Buddha and Angulimala. The forest path was still that morning, sunlight slipping through tall branches. The Buddha walked calmly, though villagers had warned him about the feared bandit Angulimala. Angulimala, burning with confusion and violence from years of harm, rushed toward him. But no matter how he tried, he couldn't catch up. The Buddha walked steadily, unhurried. When he finally stopped, the Buddha spoke gently about stopping the harm in one's own heart. Hearing this, something inside Angulimala broke open, his anger collapsing into humility. He laid down his weapons. His breath slowed for the first time in years. Maybe you've known that feeling, running hard in life, pushed by fears or old habits, not realizing you can stop. Sometimes peace begins the moment you stop chasing the old momentum. Practice. On your exhale, imagine setting down one heavy thing you've been carrying for too long. Story 22. The Buddha helps Kulapanthaka. Remember, Kulapanthaka sat alone one soft morning, frustrated and ashamed. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't remember even a single verse. His brother scolded him, and he felt small, like someone overwhelmed at work, trying to keep up but falling behind. The Buddha approached him with kindness and handed him a simple cloth to rub. "Just stay with this," he told him. "No complex tasks, just steady attention." As Kulapanthaka rubbed the cloth day after day, he noticed it darken, and with that small, concrete change, his mind grew calm and clear. Maybe you've been hard on yourself for not learning fast enough or keeping pace with others. Small steps count. They build real confidence. Practice. Take a slow breath and choose one simple thing to do gently tomorrow. No pressure, no rush. Story 23. The Buddha settles the quarrel at the Rohini River. Two clans, the Sakyans and Kolyans, faced each other angrily along the Rohini River. The water had run low, and each side claimed the right to use what remained. Voices rose, tempers tightened. It was the kind of conflict that starts small and grows until no one remembers why they're truly fighting. The Buddha stood between them and asked what mattered more, the water or the families who depended on each other. The anger dissolved as they realized they were risking lives over a few buckets of water. Their breathing softened as shame turned into understanding. Maybe you've seen arguments flare at home or work, small issues growing bigger than they deserve. Stepping back shows what truly matters. Practice. Think of one tension in your life. On your next breath, imagine looking at it from a wider, calmer view. Story 24. The Buddha reassures Mahanama. Mahanama, a devoted follower, came to the Buddha uneasy. He worried that if he died suddenly, perhaps in an accident or a moment of fear, his mind would fall into confusion. The Buddha reminded him that a person who has cultivated goodness over time naturally turns toward calm, the way a tree leans in the direction it has grown. Mahanama felt his worry ease. His breath slowed as trust replaced fear. You might know that feeling, wondering what happens if life takes a sharp turn when you're already tired or overwhelmed. But the mind you nurture day after day matters more than any single moment. Steady habits bring steady courage. Practice. Place a hand on your chest. With each inhale, think, growing steady. With each exhale, growing calm. Story 25. The Buddha and Bhaddiya's shout of happiness. Bhaddiya, once a king always surrounded by guards, became a monk seeking peace. But the other monks worried when they heard him shout, "Oh, happiness," alone in the forest. They feared he'd lost his way and told the Buddha. The Buddha smiled gently. He explained that Bhaddiya felt joy because, for the first time, he wasn't surrounded by threats or responsibilities. He was simply free. The monks relaxed. And so did Bhaddiya, knowing he no longer had to hide his relief. Maybe you've had moments where stepping away from pressure even briefly feels like breathing after being underwater. Relief can be its own kind of gratitude. Practice. Inhale quietly and notice one small freedom you have right now. Maybe you've felt pressure to meet expectations at work, with family, in finances, but your intention often matters more than the result. A generous heart brings its own peace. Practice. Think of one tiny kindness you can offer tomorrow. Let the thought soften your breath. Story 27. Visakha and the loss of her granddaughter. Visakha, wise and generous, came to the Buddha with tears in her eyes. Her granddaughter had died, and the pain was sharp. The Buddha listened quietly and spoke of how love and loss walk together, how no household avoids grief, no matter how fortunate. His words didn't erase her sorrow, but they steadied it. Visakha breathed more evenly, her heart less frantic. Maybe you've carried grief like that, personal, tender, impossible to solve. It softens when met with understanding, rather than resistance. Grief flows more gently when we accept it as part of loving. Practice. Place a hand over your heart. With each breath, offer yourself the same compassion you'd offer a dear friend. Story 28. The Buddha and Vakshagota on the Self. One quiet day, the wanderer Vakshagota approached the Buddha with a troubled look. He wanted to know directly whether a permanent self existed or not. The Buddha remained silent, knowing that either answer would deepen Vakshagatta's confusion. His silence wasn't avoidance, it was care. Vakshagota felt the kindness in that pause. His breath loosened, and he left less entangled in his own questions. Maybe you've wrestled with thoughts that only tighten the more you chase them. Big questions about identity, purpose, or direction. Sometimes the mind needs space, not more answers. Clarity often grows in quiet, not pressure. Practice. Sit for 3 slow breaths. Let one question you've been chasing rest for tonight. Story 29. The Buddha and Nalagiri the elephant. The city was tense as Nalagiri, a fierce elephant set loose to harm the Buddha, charged down the road. People scattered, shouting warnings. The Buddha stood calm, radiating kindness so steady it felt like a shelter. As Nalagiri approached, his rage began to melt. His pace slowed, his eyes softened. He bowed before the Buddha, peaceful as a resting animal. Maybe you've encountered someone or some situation charging toward you with force. Deadlines, conflict, difficult conversations. Calmness isn't weakness, it's clarity in motion. A steady heart softens even the wildest moments. Practice. Take a long, gentle exhale. Imagine sending calm energy toward one challenge in your life. Story 30. The Buddha guides Meghiya. Meghiya, a young monk, wanted to meditate alone in a beautiful grove. But once there, his mind flooded with unhelpful thoughts, desires, worries, regrets. He returned to the Buddha discouraged. The Buddha explained that wholesome qualities grow with support, good friends, good guidance, steady virtue, just as fruit trees thrive with proper conditions. Meghiya felt relief. He realized he didn't have to do everything alone. Maybe you've tried to push yourself through stress without asking for help, believing strength means doing it all yourself. But conditions matter. Support matters. We grow steady when we're supported. Practice. Think of one person or habit that helps you stay balanced. Take a soft breath of gratitude for that support. Story 31. The Buddha and Devadatta's jealousy. Devadatta, once respected for his discipline, felt jealousy rise as people admired the Buddha. That jealousy hardened into ambition, and he tried again and again to create division among the monks. The Buddha did not respond with anger or punishment. He remained steady, knowing that jealousy burns the one who holds it more than anyone else. Even when Devadatta's actions became reckless, the Buddha's compassion remained unchanged. Maybe you've seen someone pulled off course by comparison, forgetting their own goodness while chasing someone else's shadow. It reminds us to nourish our own path, instead of competing. Practice. With your next breath, let go of one comparison you've held today. Story 32. The Buddha meets Baka Brahma. Baka Brahma, a powerful being, believed his heavenly realm was permanent. When the Buddha appeared there, Baka Brahma insisted that nothing could surpass it. The Buddha gently revealed that even celestial realms change, just as all things do. Baka Brahma realized his mistake, and a quiet humility softened his pride. This story shows that even beings in radiant heavens can misunderstand the nature of things. Wisdom isn't about status, it's about seeing clearly. Practice. As you breathe out, imagine releasing just a bit of the pressure to appear perfect or certain. Story 33. The Buddha encourages Kisa Gotami. Kisa Gotami's only child died suddenly, leaving her overwhelmed with grief. She begged the Buddha for medicine to bring him back. The Buddha asked her to bring a mustard seed from a household that had never known death. She searched from home to home, but every family had suffered loss. She returned understanding that grief touches everyone. Maybe you felt pain so personal it seemed no one else could understand, until you realized others quietly carry their own stories. Shared humanity softens sorrow. Practice. With each gentle breath, offer compassion to yourself and to anyone else grieving tonight. Story 34. The Buddha tames the Yaka Alavaka. Alavaka, a fierce yaka, tried to intimidate the Buddha with threats and demands, but every challenge was met with calm wisdom. Eventually, hearing the Buddha's teachings on patience, truthfulness, and generosity, Alavaka softened, his wildness easing like a storm losing strength. Sometimes fury comes from confusion, not cruelty. Maybe you've met people who lash out from their own inner storms. Responding with steadiness can change more than force ever could. Practice. Exhale slowly and imagine meeting difficult energy tomorrow with calm presence. Story 35. The Buddha and the Hungry Ghost. One night, a monk saw a suffering spirit, thin, trembling, hungry. He asked the Buddha why beings become like that. The Buddha explained that clinging, greed, and harmful actions can shape future states, just as habits shape the mind even now. The monk felt a deep tenderness, realizing that compassion, not fear, is the right response to suffering. Maybe you've seen someone trapped in patterns that make them unhappy, yet unable to let go. Compassion helps more than judgment. Practice. Wish gently. May beings be free from hunger of body and heart. Story 36. The Buddha teaches the fire sermon. On Gaya's hills, the Buddha spoke to a group of ascetics who kept sacred fires. He explained that the senses, thoughts, and experiences burn with craving, aversion, and confusion. Hearing this, many felt a cooling insight, as if a fever they hadn't noticed was suddenly relieved. Calm washed over them. Maybe you know that inner heat, stress, desire, irritation, overthinking, seeing it clearly cools it. Practice. Breathe out as though releasing warm air from the mind, letting a cool ease settle in. Story 37. The Buddha and the Fisherman's Net. A fisherman once caught a large number of fish. As he sorted them, some gasped for water, suffering intensely. The Buddha used this moment to teach that beings caught in the nets of craving struggle just as desperately. Understanding this brings compassion and responsibility for our choices. Even the fisherman paused, moved by the Buddha's tender clarity. Maybe you felt trapped in habits or routines that don't serve you. Recognizing the net is the first step to freedom. Practice. Name one habit that tightens your mind. With the next breath, imagine loosening its hold just a little. Practice. Before you speak next time you're challenged, breathe once and choose clarity over victory. Story 39. The Buddha heals an injured monk with care. One day the Buddha found a monk lying ill and neglected. The Buddha washed him, tended his wounds, and cared for him gently. Then he reminded the monks, "Whoever would care for me, let them care for the sick." Their hearts opened. Compassion became a shared responsibility. Maybe you've cared for someone tired, ill, or struggling, and felt how tenderness deepens our humanity. Kindness is a quiet form of wisdom. Practice. Think of one person who might need gentle care. Wish them ease on your next breath. Story 40. The Buddha and the Fasting Monks of Vesali. In Vesali, some monks became overly strict, fasting excessively in hopes of purifying themselves. Their bodies weakened and their minds grew dull. The Buddha reminded them that the middle way, not too tight, not too loose, leads to clarity. Balance supports wisdom far better than extremes. Their relief was immediate, like someone loosening a knot tied too tightly. Maybe you've pushed yourself too hard at work, in self-improvement, in expectations, and felt yourself strain. Balance nourishes growth. Practice. Take one soft breath and ask yourself gently, where can I relax just a little? Story 41. The Buddha visits the sick monk. Super Buddha, the leper. Super Buddha, a poor man struggling with leprosy, approached the Buddha with humility. People avoided him, but the Buddha welcomed him without hesitation. Hearing the teaching, Super Buddha's mind brightened, clear and steady for the first time in years. He left with a heart lighter than his body had felt in a long time. Sometimes the deepest exhaustion comes not from illness, but from feeling unseen. Kindness restores dignity. Practice. Place one hand on your chest and breathe once, as though offering yourself the same gentle welcome. Story 42. The Buddha calms the Brahmin who insulted him. A Brahmin once angrily approached the Buddha, pouring out harsh words. The Buddha listened without reacting. When the Brahmin paused, confused, the Buddha explained calmly that anger offered, but not accepted, harms only the giver. The Brahmin felt his rage drain away like water spilling onto dry earth. Maybe someone has spoken sharply to you when they were really upset with their own life. You don't have to hold what isn't yours. Practice. Exhale softly and imagine letting go of one memory of someone else's anger. Story 43. The Buddha and the man carrying a corpse. A grieving man wandered with his dead father's body, unable to accept the loss. People stepped aside, unsettled by his sorrow. The Buddha met him with compassion, helping him understand impermanence gently, without forcing him to let go before he was ready. Over time, the man's grasp loosened, and peace slowly returned. Grief often makes us cling tightly to what we can no longer hold. Understanding opens space for healing. Practice. With your next breath, allow one tight place in your body to soften even a little. Story 44. The Buddha teaches the poisoned arrow. A man wounded by an arrow wanted all his questions answered before receiving help. Who shot it? From where? With what materials? The Buddha explained that waiting for every answer would only bring more pain. Hearing this, the monks understood the futility of endless speculation. Some things must be addressed directly, without delay. Maybe you've delayed caring for yourself because you were tangled in questions or doubts. Sometimes relief begins with action, not analysis. Practice. Ask yourself, what's one small thing I can address tonight? Take one breath toward it. Story 45. The Buddha and anger of the quarrelsome monks. In Kosambi, monks fell into arguments, small disagreements growing into deep division. They refused to reconcile, each side certain they were right. The Buddha left them to reflect on their behavior, saying nothing harsh. When they saw the suffering their conflict caused, they softened and sought forgiveness. Maybe arguments at home or work have drained your energy more than the tasks themselves. Peace rarely comes from winning. It comes from listening. Practice. Breathe once and recall someone you're in tension with. Wish them a moment of ease. Story 46. The Buddha encourages the poor farmer. A farmer complained that he couldn't meditate because his crops needed care, his family needed him, and his worries felt endless. The Buddha gently reminded him that everyone carries burdens. The farmer relaxed hearing this, not because his duties vanished, but because he no longer felt alone. He learned to weave brief moments of calm into his days. Maybe your responsibilities stretch from morning to night. Even small pauses can steady the mind. Practice. Take 3 slow breaths, as though placing your load down beside you for a moment. Story 47. The Buddha teaches the simile of the raft. The Buddha told the monks of a man who built a raft to cross a dangerous river. After crossing safely, he didn't carry the raft on his back. He left it behind. The teaching reminded them not to cling even to helpful things once their purpose is fulfilled. A lightness entered the community. Maybe you've held on to habits, roles, or beliefs long after they stopped serving you. Letting go creates space. Practice. Whisper silently inside, I can set this down. Breathe out gently. Story 48. The Buddha and Mahapajapati Gautami's request. Mahapajapati, the Buddha's aunt and foster mother, sought ordination for women. Her persistence reflected deep devotion and clarity. After careful consideration and guidance, The Buddha allowed the establishment of the women's community. Joy spread among those who longed for a path of practice. Sometimes the doors we knock on don't open instantly, but steady, sincere intention matters. Gentle courage shapes change. Practice. Place a hand on your belly. Breathe slowly and acknowledge one desire of your heart. Story 49. The Buddha teaches the simile of the saw. The Buddha told the monks that even if someone cut them with a saw, responding with hatred would only deepen suffering. It was an extreme image to show the strength of inner patience. The monks understood. The mind can stay spacious even when life feels tight. Maybe you've been tempted to react harshly when someone treated you unfairly. Patience protects your peace. Practice. As you inhale, think steady. As you exhale, think release. 1. And Wesley, over Mendes. Practice. Send a gentle wish outward. May all beings be at ease. Feel your shoulders soften with the breath. Story 51. The Buddha teaches the gradual training. A group of young monks arrived with restless energy, expecting enlightenment to come quickly. They were weary from effort but unsure where to begin. The Buddha guided them step by step. Generosity first, then ethical living, then calmness, leading toward deeper understanding. Their shoulders eased as they realized the path is walked gently, not forced. Maybe you've rushed to fix everything at once, work, home, future, only to feel overwhelmed. Steady steps build real peace. Practice. Choose one small, helpful action for tomorrow. Breathe once, imagining it done with ease. Story 52. The Buddha and the Weeping Woman at the Cremation Ground. A woman stood near the burning ground weeping for her husband, grief clouding her world. The Buddha approached quietly, not with doctrine, but presence. He reminded her that all who are born must part, just as day yields to night. Her tears didn't stop instantly, but her heart found a softer place to rest. Maybe you've held sadness that felt too big to carry alone. Gentle truth can lighten even old sorrow. Practice. Place your hand on your heart and breathe as though giving yourself permission to feel and soften. Story 53. The Buddha's meeting with Bimbisara after enlightenment. After awakening, the Buddha visited King Bimbisara, who had once supported him during his search. The king welcomed him with respect and curiosity. Listening to the Buddha speak of freedom from clinging, Bimbisara felt a quiet relief, as one relieved of long-held tension. He offered support to the growing community with a joyful heart. Maybe someone in your life has offered you help before you even knew how much you needed it. Gratitude deepens connection. Practice. Think of one person who has supported you. Send them a silent thank you with your next breath. Story 54. The Buddha and the monk obsessing over his robe. A monk became overly attached to his robe, afraid of losing it, endlessly inspecting it. His worry grew until he couldn't meditate. The Buddha gently explained that concern becomes a chain when held too tightly. Hearing this, the monk relaxed, folding his robe with ease rather than anxiety. Maybe you've fixated on something small, a bill, a message, a task until it grew larger than it needed to be. Noticing the grip helps loosen it. Practice. Pick one small worry and breathe out as if giving it more space. Story 55. The Buddha teaches the simile of the ocean. The Buddha once compared his teaching to the ocean. Gradual depth, unwavering consistency, a taste of freedom like the ocean's taste of salt. Monks listening felt steadiness enter their minds. The image helped them understand that true practice unfolds slowly but surely, calming like waves settling at dusk. Maybe your responsibilities feel deep and unpredictable. Trust grows when you see patterns, not perfection. Story 56. The Buddha and the Old Brahmin's Last Request. An elderly Brahmin, nearing death, met the Buddha, seeking peace. His body weakened, but his longing for clarity remained strong. The Buddha taught him simply encouraging, letting go of clinging and fostering steadiness of mind. The Brahmin felt comfort, like someone setting down a long-carried burden. Maybe you faced moments where clarity mattered more than anything else. Peace often comes from releasing, not adding. Practice. With your next slow exhale, imagine placing one heavy thought down gently. Story 57. The Buddha encourages Venerable Sona. Sona practiced with excessive effort, exhausting himself. His mind grew tight instead of peaceful. The Buddha reminded him of the lute. When the strings are too tight, it won't play. Too loose, it won't sound. Balanced effort makes harmony. Maybe you've pushed yourself so hard that the joy drained out. Balance rebuilds energy. Practice. Breathe gently and ask yourself, where can I ease just 10%? Story 58. The Buddha and the monk who lost his way. A monk meditating in solitude began doubting his practice. His thoughts spiraled, and he felt unanchored. When he returned, the Buddha reassured him that doubt is part of the journey, not a sign of failure. The monk felt grounded again, like someone returning home after wandering unfamiliar roads. Maybe you've questioned your direction, career, family, purpose, wondering if you're doing any of it right. Gentle reassurance steadies the steps. Practice. Inhale slowly and whisper inwardly, I'm allowed to learn as I go. Story 59. The Buddha and the man terrified of death. A man approached the Buddha trembling, frightened of dying. His fear kept him awake at night and drained his days of ease. The Buddha spoke of the naturalness of life's cycles, birth, growth, change, departure, like seasons turning without force. The man's breath grew calmer, his mind less rigid. Maybe fear has visited you in the quiet hours, making everything feel heavier. Understanding softens fear's hold. Practice. Feel your breath enter and leave, like a small wave that knows its way. Story 60. The Buddha teaches Rahula about truthfulness. Young Rahula once told an untruth out of carelessness. The Buddha used a water pot to teach him that lying empties the heart of its strength, just as pouring out water leaves a pot hollow. Rahula understood and chose to live with careful honesty thereafter. Maybe you felt the discomfort of not being fully aligned with your real values. Integrity brings calm. Practice. Take one breath and name inwardly one truth you want to live by tomorrow. Story 61. The Buddha teaches the simile of the lamp. One evening, monks gathered around a small lamp flickering in the wind. The Buddha explained that just as the flame rises and falls depending on the conditions around it, so the mind shifts based on what it meets. The monks felt relief in realizing their thoughts were not personal failures, but changing conditions. Their shoulders eased, as though a quiet permission had been given. Story 62. The Buddha and the monk with a harsh voice. Some monks complained that another monk's voice was rough and unpleasant. They felt irritated whenever he chanted or spoke. The Buddha reminded them that focusing on faults creates more discomfort, while seeing goodness brings harmony. Hearing this, the monks softened and treated the monk with patience instead of criticism. Maybe you've noticed small irritations multiply when you're tired. Kind attention dissolves tension. Practice. Think of someone who bothers you slightly. Offer them a gentle wish. May you be well. Story 63. The Buddha's teaching to the anxious householder. A householder came trembling with worry about his family, his farm, and the future. He felt pulled in every direction at once. The Buddha spoke of how craving for certainty binds the mind like tight knots. The man left with his breath slower, carrying his responsibilities with less strain. Maybe you've felt that same tightening, the need for everything to be safe and predictable. Loosening the grip brings clarity. Practice. On your next exhale, imagine one knot loosening in your chest. Story 64. The Buddha meets the ascetic Kassapa of Uruvela. Kassapa was a respected ascetic, leading hundreds of followers. He believed his fire rituals brought purity, and he doubted anyone could guide him. But after witnessing the Buddha's calm presence and deep wisdom, Kassapa felt a quiet shift inside. He eventually laid down his pride and followed the Buddha's path. Even the strongest convictions can soften when truth is seen clearly. Humility opens doors, certainty keeps closed. Practice. Ask yourself gently, where am I holding too tightly? Breathe once and allow a little openness. Story 65. The Buddha and the quarrel among the Sakyans. The Sakyans, the Buddha's own clan, fell into a dispute about water rights. Each side believed the other was being unreasonable. The Buddha intervened, reminding them that kinship mattered more than winning. Their anger cooled like hot stones placed in a river. Maybe arguments in your own family have drained your energy, even when the issue was small. Unity brings more peace than victory. Practice. Think of someone you love but disagree with. Send a soft exhale in their direction. Story 66. The Buddha and the Distant Wanderers. A group of wanderers asked the Buddha how to choose what to believe. They were overwhelmed by the many teachings they encountered. The Buddha encouraged them to test teachings by their results, whether they brought kindness, clarity, and steady hearts. They left feeling grounded, no longer tossed by every opinion. Maybe you felt overwhelmed by too much advice, work, health, relationships. Clarity comes from noticing what truly helps. Practice. Ask, does this bring ease or tension? Let your breath guide you toward the answer. Story 67. The Buddha consoles. A monk struggling with anger. A monk felt deep irritation toward another. His mind churned, and meditation only made the frustration louder. The Buddha taught him to reflect on the other's good qualities, just as one highlights stars in a cloudy sky. Slowly, the monk's anger softened, replaced by quiet goodwill. Maybe someone's flaws feel larger than their virtues. When you're tired or stressed, turning toward their goodness shifts everything. Practice. Call to mind one good quality of someone difficult. Let that thought fill a single slow breath. Story 68. The Buddha and the Rich Miser of Savatthi. A wealthy man hoarded his riches, fearing loss more than he enjoyed his fortune. He lived in constant tension. The Buddha explained that generosity brings freedom, while withholding creates fear. Moved by this, the man began sharing what he had, discovering ease he hadn't felt in years. Maybe clinging to possessions or even control has tightened your mind. Opening the hand opens the heart. Practice. Offer something small tomorrow, a kind word, a favor, a smile. Breathe once imagining the gesture. Story 69. The Buddha teaches the simile of the mirror. The Buddha told the monks that the mind is like a mirror. Whatever is placed before it is reflected. When kept clear through ethical living and mindfulness, it shows things as they are. Hearing this, the monks felt encouraged. Clarity wasn't a mystery, just careful tending. Maybe your mind has felt smudged by long days, old habits, or constant demands. A little cleaning brings quiet brightness. Practice. On your next breath, imagine wiping a small corner of your inner mirror clean. Story 70. The Buddha consoles. Pasenadi, the king. King Pasenadi arrived, weighed down by political worries, family pressures, and the demands of leadership. His dignity didn't hide his weariness. The Buddha reminded him that ruling others is hard, but ruling one's own mind brings true strength. The king exhaled deeply, as though letting go of a hidden burden. Maybe you also carry responsibilities others don't see, quiet loads that tire you. Inner steadiness lightens outer weight. Practice. Sit back slightly and breathe slowly. Feel the weight of the day settle, then soften. Story 71. Late in the afternoon, when the light softened over Jetavana, the Buddha sat quietly beneath the tall sal trees. A monk approached him, young, earnest, and worn down by the constant push to be perfect in every task. He confessed that his mind felt tight all the time, like a drum pulled too hard. His work in the community, his meditation, even his kindness, everything felt like a test he was failing. The Buddha reminded him of the time he himself had tightened his lute string too far, and it snapped, and when he left it too loose, no music came. The middle tension, he said, is what allows a gentle song. The monk felt his chest loosen as he bowed, as if some heavy inner standard had let go. You might feel that same pull in your day, trying to excel at work, at home, and in every role you hold. Sometimes the simplest truth is this: you don't need to strain to be good. Take a minute now. Let your shoulders fall. Let your breath soften. Let things be enough, just for this moment. Story 72. One morning near Vulture Peak, the Buddha walked slowly with the Sangha. A merchant named Patalika hurried to him, breathless, his mind full of worry about losing business to a rival shop. He felt threatened, angry, and convinced that if he didn't outdo everyone, he would fall behind. The rivalry felt like a fire under his feet. The Buddha told him about a torch carried against the wind, how the flames burn the bearer more than anyone else. When we run with anger, we scorch ourselves first. The merchant's face softened, the heat inside settling into a quieter warmth. Maybe you've carried something like that: competition, comparison, feeling behind. It's understandable. Life pushes, but anger doesn't protect you. It only makes the road rougher. Rest your hand on your chest. Feel one slower breath. Let the inner fire lower to a glow, something you can see clearly again. Story 73. By the river near Kosambi, the Buddha once paused where the water moved in smooth lines. A householder named Suhata approached him, troubled by constant arguments at home. The fights seemed small at first, but they piled up: misunderstandings, snapped replies, old resentments that never quite settled. He felt worn thin. The Buddha pointed to the river, noting how a stick floating downstream only bumps rocks when the water level is low. When the heart is shallow with patience, every small thing knocks against it. Suhata breathed more deeply, as if gaining a little more room inside. Maybe your days have felt like that too shallow for all the demands. It happens. A simple practice. On your next exhale, imagine the river rising just an inch. More depth, more room. Story 74. In the bamboo grove, a widow once came to the Buddha, carrying the quiet ache of loneliness. Her children had grown, her home felt empty, and she questioned what purpose remained for her. She spoke of the hollow evenings, the long silences, the sense that she no longer mattered. The Buddha reminded her that a lamp still gives light, even in an empty room. Kindness, presence, steady care, these matter, even when unseen. Her eyes grew gentler, as if she remembered a light she still carried. You might have nights where you wonder if your efforts count. They do, even if no one says it. Offer yourself one kind breath, slow in, slow out. That, too, is light. Story 75. On a warm day near Rajagaha, a farmer approached the Buddha, frustrated that his life was full of problems. Bad weather, stubborn oxen, debts he couldn't quite pay off. The Buddha listened quietly. The farmer demanded solutions, a way to eliminate every challenge once and for all. The Buddha told him everyone has 83 problems. Solving one only invites another. The only peace comes from working with life, rather than fighting to perfect it. The farmer sighed, but his face relaxed. He no longer felt singled out by hardship. Maybe you've had days like that, so many issues you can't fix at once. You can still breathe here. Let one problem wait until tomorrow. Story 76. Deep in the forest, the Buddha once rested with the community after a long walk. A monk came forward, ashamed because he had spoken harshly to another monk earlier that day. He worried he had ruined his reputation, his progress, his worth. The Buddha spoke of a clear pond that becomes muddy when stirred, yet settles again when untouched. The mind, too, can clear with stillness and honesty. The monk felt the knot in his throat ease. Maybe you've said something you regret at work, at home, in the rush of a long day. It's all right to soften now. Sit with your breath. Let the pond settle. Story 77. In Savatthi, a young man approached the Buddha carrying envy like a shadow. His brother had succeeded in business, while he struggled to make ends meet. He compared himself constantly, feeling smaller each time. The Buddha told him of a field where some trees grow wide, some grow tall, some grow slowly, but each offers shade in its own way. Measuring heights doesn't change the coolness beneath them. The young man took a long breath, the sharpness inside beginning to dissolve. If you've ever compared your path to someone else's, you're not alone. Right now, touch the ground or the bed beneath you. Feel your own place steady, valid, enough. Story 78. One peaceful evening, the Buddha sat near a small fire as travelers settled nearby. A woman approached him, anxious about a mistake she had made years earlier, one that still followed her like a long shadow. She feared she could never move beyond it. The Buddha told her about a traveler dropping a heavy load after miles of carrying it. The road doesn't lengthen when the burden is released. Only the traveler walks easier. The woman exhaled softly, as if setting something down. You might have old memories that tug at you too. Place your palm on your abdomen and feel one slow rise, one slow fall. Let the past sit on the ground beside you for a moment. Story 79. Near Anathapindika's park, the Buddha greeted an older man who felt defeated by aging. His body ached, his work slowed, and he feared becoming a burden to his family. The Buddha reminded him that the seasons shift in every forest. Each stage has its own quiet beauty. Upper branches may thin, but roots grow deeper and steadier. The man felt dignity return to his breath. Maybe you felt time moving quickly, or felt behind in your own body. Take one long exhale. Let yourself belong to this moment, just as you are. Story 80. In the early hours before dawn, the Buddha walked along a path lit by faint starlight. A monk joined him, overwhelmed by the endless tasks of monastic life chores, rules, duties, expectations. He felt tired and wondered if he could keep up. The Buddha spoke gently about a path walked step by step, not by leap. Even mountains are crossed by placing one foot in front of the other. The monk's shoulders lowered as he breathed more evenly. Maybe your days feel like that, too many expectations, too many steps. For tonight, choose one tiny breath to follow from start to finish. That is enough for now. The day has grown quiet now. The long path we walk together through stories of tired hearts, restless minds, and soft awakenings has settled into a gentle hush. You've made it here, to the edge of night, where nothing needs to be held anymore. Just breathe, softly, slowly, as the world loosens its grip around you. All evening, we moved like travelers following a lantern through a forest trail. Sometimes the way felt tangled, sometimes the wind shifted, but the light stayed with you steady, patient, guiding you little by little toward ease. Now that lantern glows inside you, faint but warm, like a candle sheltered in your palms. You don't need to do anything with it, just let it glow. The river you visited earlier, the calm water that showed how thoughts rise and fall, still flows nearby. You can almost hear it if you listen softly enough, not with the ears, but with that quiet place inside your chest. It moves without rush, without wanting, without trying to be anything but itself. Maybe tonight you feel a little closer to that rhythm, a little less pulled, a little more at home in your own breath. Let that feeling spread, slowly, like moonlight stretching across a still lake. There were moments in this journey when someone approached the Buddha carrying worry, or anger, or the weight of comparisons. And each time, something simple softened in them, not because a problem was solved, but because they finally allowed themselves a single calm breath. You did the same here, quietly, gently, maybe without even noticing. The stories were only mirrors, reflecting the way you carry your own days, the long hours, the expectations, the invisible work no one sees, the ache of trying to hold everything together. And yet, through every scene, every footstep, every small moment of easing, you stayed, you breathed, you softened when you could, Now the forest is darker, the stars are higher, the air feels cooler, like it's wrapping around your shoulders with kindness. Let yourself sink into that. Feel your body lying here, heavier, in the best way, like a stone resting at the bottom of a clear stream, where nothing disturbs it. The sky above you is wide and unhurried. Clouds drift, the way thoughts drift, appearing, passing, dissolving, without leaving a mark. You don't need to follow them. You don't need to fix or chase or hold. Just let everything pass through the open sky of this moment. The moon is rising now, slow, pale, generous. Its light touches your breath, the way it touches the ocean, softening the waves until even the smallest ripple becomes still. Let your breath move that way, loose, unforced, barely there. You might feel your mind searching for one last thought, one last question, one last bit of the day that wants attention. But this is the hour when the world is allowed to be unfinished. The Buddha spoke often of the gentle middle way, not a place you try to reach, but a place that appears when you stop pushing. And right here, in this hush, you're already in it. Every story tonight pointed you towards something quiet, something patient, something already inside you. Not a lesson you needed to memorize, but a feeling, like the earth holding you, like dusk settling on your skin, like a tired bird folding its wings. Let that feeling widen inside you. Feel the room around you grow softer. Edges blur. Time thins. Your breath floats like a feather on warm evening air. If any tension lingers, imagine placing it beside you, as if you were setting down a basket at the end of a long road. You don't need to carry anything now, not even yourself. The night holds you. The world holds you. Your own breath holds you. Let everything slow down. Now, almost like drifting underwater, where sound becomes soft and movement becomes gentle, and the mind feels wrapped in blue quiet. There is nothing left to understand, nothing to solve, nothing to remember. Just this moment, this soft place between waking and sleep, where the river, the candle, the moon, and your breath all feel like one simple thing, a single, peaceful presence. You've walked far enough for today. Even thinking is too much work now. Let the thoughts fade like stars slipping into morning mist. Let the stories drift into the distance. Let the whole world turn silent around you. You're safe. You're supported. You're exactly where you need to be. Now, just breathe. Slower and softer than before. Let each exhale carry you downward, as if the earth were drawing you into a bed of warm sand. Nothing heavy, nothing dark, just ease, just quiet. The moon settles, the candle dims, the river hushes. Your breath floats like a small boat on still water, and you drift with it. No more words now, just rest, just silence, just the soft, endless night, holding you